Yeah, Lisa, please ask.
Hi, Adina. Lisa Bura, Ibsa, the Netherlands. I was just wondering, you said you're really good at graphic designing, but what other talents do you think will really help you as a secretary?
Okay, thank you for the question. I only said for that because I referring to the PRC, so I think that skill will help the most. But of course, I have another skills like that. Like I'm really wait. So this is actually my personality. Sorry, skills that I have maintaining good teamwork. I don't know if that considered as a skill, but from 2 years my experience in IVSA as a standing committee, uh, I could say that I have a good communication skill, and I'm pretty sure that I know how to talk with manner with our people, since we have so much people with various background in IBSA, and respecting deadline also, um, and managing time. Wait, it's that not considered as a skill, right? Um, can you please
No, I think that's a good point. I think those are both good points.
Okay. Do you want to ask
more? Okay, so next question.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone? A second question for Adinda? Okay, Andara, ask.
Hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Andara Joseph from IVSA Nigeria. My question to Adinda is, what are your own projects that you hope to introduce to the IVSA body, and how do you hope to achieve those projects? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. But what do you mean by IVSA body?
I mean, in your own office, where you'll be serving IVSA.
In my own office, I'm currently only in SCAL and Committee on Animal Welfare. But if you ask me about later, if I were chosen to be the secretary, I've been thinking to have a project, like to have a workshop with the other people in first and study. Actually, this is like continuing the previous project, but I would like to add more idea because the previous project already like PR network. It's called PR network, and it's for any social media manager or general creator for each standing company, and they are in one group also with the chair. And previously we want to have a workshop, and I think from that I could add my ideas about what workshop we would want to do, like for example how to write a journal or how to write a blog or something like that, which will be useful for PRC team. And then the
Okay, Adinda, I think that was clear enough. Thank you very much for your answers. Now I will ask you to leave the meeting, and I will tell you on the WhatsApp group when to come back. Okay, just be with your phone ready. Okay, Damilare, I'll ask you the first question from the election committee. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so the first question. Under which EXCO position would you like to serve and why?
I would like to serve under the member organization department, basically because they are in charge of members organization worldwide, and I basically want to use my knowledge to be able to assist in activities that can contain or that pertain to member organization in terms of enhancing our tentacles and be able to increase the efficiency of our member organizations.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, so in the past it happens that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective EXCO position. So the question is, how would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
Basically, I will ensure to keep communication with Ibc Global now that we are in the technology world, and our social media has been one of the strengths that we use in communicating to all our members. So if I happen to be the secretary to the MOD, one of the things I would like to do is to strengthen our social media platforms and also to disseminate Google Forms and other things that will help to get up-to-date information on our member organizations.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll open the floor for two more questions for Damilare. So who has a question? Raise your hand. Lisa.
Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. Hi, Damilare. I just wanted to ask, what specific skills do you think make you a good secretariat?
Thank you very much for that question. One of the skills that I've been able to acquire over time is my teamwork and ability to get jobs done within specified time. And I am very creative. I love creativity. I love to bring new things to the table, such that I love to attempt many ways before a particular task is carried on to make sure that we get the best and we do the best.
Okay, another question from Damilare. Well, since no one else can ask, don't want to ask another question. Also, Lisa, we have another question.
Yes, I have another question. So in case you were not to be chosen for Secretariat MOD, is there any other position you would consider?
Okay, I'm there to be Secretary of the National Committee of Education.
Damilare, Lisa's question was if you're not elected for the MOD, Secretary for MOD, from which another EXCO position would you rather work with except of MOD?
Okay, aside the MOD, I'll prefer to work with the DAD. That's the act of it.
Okay, thank you very much, Damilare. Now please leave the meeting. So, Glenn, I'm going to ask you the first question from the election committee. So, the first question is, under which EXCO position would you like to serve and why?
Hello. I'd love to serve under the PRC because of the experience I've had in social media management, graphic designing, and video creation.
Okay. The second question is, so in the past it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective EXCO position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
With effective communication with the EXCO member you are assigned to, I'm sure you'll be able to communicate well and try to find out more whether there's any available work you can finish, or if there's any help, or you can ask for any. You can try to be initiative so they can give you work to do.
Okay, Glenn. Now I will open the floor for two questions for Glenn. Who has a question for Glenn? Yes, Lisa, please.
Hello, Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. Glenn, I would just like to ask you, in case you're elected as Secretariat and there is no position for PRC, is there any other EXCO position you would like to work with?
Yes, please. I'd love to work with the DAD.
Okay, a second question for Glenn. Javier, please.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Javier, we cannot hear you now.
Now? Yes, right?
No, no.
Yes, what would you do if you had to work with the DAD?
First of all, I'll help the development aid director in raising awareness about the development fund with members of the relevant members, third parties, and also help the development aid director identify new projects for members, and also help the DAD in reporting to the GA on projects both completed and ongoing during the term of the DAD.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Now I will ask you to leave the meeting, and I will tell you when to come back.
Thank you.
Okay, so is Irem here, but with another name as an attendee? Irem Isloglu. Sorry for mispronouncing that.
Hello.
Okay, Irem, I will ask you the first question. So, the first question is, under which EXCO position would you like to serve and why?
I guess Secretary General because I love assisting people. Like, I don't really like to be the only one while working, but I prefer to assist other people to be, more passionate.
Okay, the next question is, in the past, it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective EXCO position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
Well, since I worked as a secretary of our local chapter for 2 years, I have strength about writing mails and everything, but I haven't been able to attend any other any past congresses of IBSA Global. So that was one of my concerns about it. I mean, I usually have to use emails to contact with other members or our EXO members or secretariat teammates of me. So I don't know. I just believe that I have the. I'm sorry. I'm so nervous right now.
Don't worry, take your time.
Well, I just believe I can be reachable for everyone. I can check my email for daily. I would like to do this for IBSA.
Okay, Hiram. Now you will receive two questions from the floor. So who has a question from Hiram? Okay, Hiram, since nobody has any questions for you, I will just want to ask another the first question from the election committee, because you said that you want to work for the Secretary General, and there's no secretary appointed to Secretary General. So which other position as secretary would you love to work with?
Oh, maybe DAB. The communication is important while you're working as a DAB, so they probably need an assistant to communicate easily.
Okay, thank you, Hiram.
You're welcome.
Again, does anyone
I'm
have any
sorry,
question?
I was so
Another
nervous.
question for you. Okay, Hiram, please, thank you again, and please now leave the meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry again. I was really nervous.
It's fine.
Bye.
Hey guys, hope you can hear me well.
Yes, we can hear Caroline. Now I'll ask you the first question from the election committee. So the first question is, under which EXCO position would you like to serve and why?
So I would love to serve under the MOD, as I've been working with the MOD team very closely in my term as regional rep. So I'm really informed on the activities and challenges that they face, especially in the coming term. So I'll be able to enter that role really swiftly without too much transition time. If possible, I would also love to assist the DAD, as I'm really passionate about the work of the Development Fund.
Okay, thank you. Now for the second question. In the past, it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective EXCO position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement within Ibc Global?
So this is where my involvement in the past term will be hugely beneficial for me, as I believe that the role of secretary in many ways, like the role I had of regional representative, is one that you can shape yourself. So as I mentioned in the speech, I have many ideas for projects and events that I would work on. And so I know that there's a lot of things that MOs would love to have created. So that's something that I would love to do. And in essence, I think that the best way to stay involved within Ibsa Global is to prioritize to attend the meetings with other officials, because it will allow you to stay in tune with the things that are happening, as well as having continuous communication with the other officials and, of course, the EXCO member that you're assigned to. So then you'll be able to have an up-to-date knowledge of what is going on and also to predict the future tasks as well. Lastly, I just want to say also that I think approaching any task that I will hopefully be assigned with a positive mindset is hugely important for future involvement as well.
Okay, thank you. Now, if the GA has a question for Caroline. Lisa?
Hi, Caroline. Lisa Bura, Ibsa Netherlands. I just want to ask, what do you think would be the biggest challenge for you as a secretariat?
Thanks for the question. So I think any challenge is always to figure out how you could best use the skills that you have to benefit that position. And I also think that a personal challenge might be for me to not take on too many tasks at once. But I do know that with clear communication and a great team, those challenges could be overcome. And I've also shown in my term that I have good time management skills, as you can see from the report. So hopefully that won't be an issue.
Thank you, Caroline. Another question? Lisa, do you have another question?
Yes, I do. So you said you would like to work with MOD and DAD. Are there any specific skills you think, in addition to having been a regional representative, that would help with that?
Well, I think that one of the essential things when it comes to especially working for the MOD would be to be able to have great communication skills, because that is something I feel like has been important also during my term, to increase communication between Ibsa Global and the local MOs. So I think that is an important part of working for the MOD team, is to stay in communication not only with your team members, but also with the MOs. So that is an important skill that I believe I do have. And I also think time management here is very crucial, as those are both teams, when it comes to the MOD team and also the DAD, they have a lot of things on their plate. So being able to be structured, to complete those tasks on time, and to be a trusted helper, I guess, is something that is important there, and I believe I have those skills. Thanks for that question as well.
Thank you, Caroline. Now I would ask you to leave, and I will tell you when you can come back.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, Lina, I will ask you the first question. Under which EXCO position would you like to serve and why?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, I would like to be part of the member organization director secretariat, and I would like to be part of this team because I want to continue working for Ibsa and with the process that we start since the regional representative project was created, and also because I think it's a great opportunity to continue in touch with my region and also with other regions that don't have been a lot of involved in this association. Also because I think it's a great opportunity in my life, and I have the skills that are needed to be part of this team.
Thank you. Now for the second question. In the past, it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective EXCO position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
Well, I think that we have many tools in this moment to keep in touch with other people, especially with the social networking and other virtual tools. And I think it's a little bit complicated the times, but this is part of the commitment that we assume when we run for this position. So I think it's just take part of the association and want to do the tasks that we have and take advantage of all of these tools that we have currently.
Thank you. Now we'll receive questions from the floor. Who has a question? Jacqueline?
Yes.
What question?
Just wait. Okay. How do you think your experience as regional rep can help you in your job as a secretary?
Well, when I was regional representative, I had the opportunity to work not just with the member organization director. I work also with the secretary for this part. So I think that that opportunity that I have to work with them can help me to see, the deadlines, to work with less time. Yes, I like all the activities that we did have a lot of things to do with the secretary.
Okay, thank you. Another question? Lisa.
Hello, Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. I just want to ask, you seem really motivated to work with MOD. Is there any other position you would consider becoming Secretariat of?
Well, I think I don't have problem to work with any position in the EXCO. I really would like member organization director because it's the area that I have been working since the last year. But I'm open to be part of any EXCO position without any problem.
Okay, thank you, Lina. Now I will have to ask you to leave the meeting, and I will tell you when you can join again.
Hello, Lucian.
I can hear you. So, Maulida, I'm going to ask you the first question. Under which exco position would you like to serve and why?
I would like to serve an MOD position because I love working with people, and I'm aware of the job of the MOD position. I have watched the videos of the previous positions that have the MOD team, and I know well about their projects. For example, like their main goal for engage new MO to join Ibsa and giving the individual exchange or group exchange information as accessible as possible. And other projects for like for being the LO for regional representatives, the board certificate, the EL bulletin, the squad challenge, the screening of the committee members, the screening of the delegates for Congress and Symposium. Basically, I just love working with people, and I have the problem-solving mindset, so it will be beneficial for me to be able to join the position because I like discussions, I like new idea, and I like to motivate people to make an idea into a new action.
Okay, Maulida, thank you. Now for the second question. In the past, it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective exco position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
I'm sorry, Lucian, your voice is not clear. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Okay, I will repeat the whole thing. So, in the past, it happened that the secretariats haven't had enough tasks assigned to them by the respective exco position. How would you ensure that you will keep up communication and involvement with Ibc Global?
I will have my social media, for example, emails and WhatsApp, always online. So I will check up every day in order to make a good communication for the exchange, for the executive committee, if there's tasks assigned to me. And if I didn't get the questions regarding there's no enough tasks to be assigned to the secretary, but I will try to answer. I will be willing to I will be willing to ask, is there any task that I could do, even if it's not in my assigned position as the member of the exco. For example, if it's not enough task given to me as an MOD, and I have free time, I'm aware that if Secretariat works as a team, and I will ask if there's anything I could do to help other members. Lucian, you can always clarify if I didn't answer the thing that you asked me.
No, it was fine.
Okay.
Now you'll receive 2 questions from the floor. So who has a question? Lisa?
Hello, Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. I just want to ask, what do you think would be your biggest challenge as a secretariat?
Okay. Can I answer this?
Yes.
Okay. My biggest challenge would be in the different cultures background and time zones, because if I want to be in MOD team, there will be a lot of time differences. So it would be an extra job for me to adjust the time for meeting or discussions. But because I'm experienced in time management, I think that would be well managed, because a good communication is also needed to determine if there is anything to discuss, and also accent, because my English is not my first language. And also, I have the experience to know people from different regions, from different country, I mean, and because we're using English, that will be a challenge for me for understanding the accent of other people when they're talking. But I'm willing to learn and understand what they are saying because communication is that important. And also, I'm having double job as an EO for IBS Indonesia and also the IBSA Symposium 68 Secretariat and Delegations team. And it will be extra time for me to manage the work and schedule the time for the job to be exactly done but I can manage to schedule the job in order sorry.
Monica, anyway, I think that's enough. I think it was clear.
Okay.
Can we have another question from Alida?
Sure.
Lisa?
Hi again, Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. I had another question. So, in case you went to become Secretariat for MOD, what other EXCO position would you like to work with?
I would like to work for CC and DAD because I'm aware of the job for helping communication with committee coordinators, committee chairs, and working with committee coordinators is also what I like to do because I would like to engage more people and more stakeholders to be involved in IBSA programs. So maybe I can relay some of the organizations that will work and fit to work with the chairs so their programs can be well developed. And I can deliver an idea because I have a lot of ideas to be delivered in order that committee projects can be well done in the future in the betterment of IBSA. The second one is the AD because I know the job of the AD is to do the fundraising through selling the merchandise and also conducting the silent and live auctions for creating IBSA scholarships and funds for other programs for IBSA. That's all from me. Thank
Okay,
you.
Maurida, thank you. You're not. If you want, you can stay because we were going to go now on trust.
Okay, thank you.
So we're going to start with trust. And we will start with Anya. So Brandon, Daniel, Elwin, Joe, Nacho, and Tavishi, please leave the meeting. So Anya, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes. So the first question, what challenges have you identified in IBSA in general based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an adversary role?
So first, the most important challenge I think is communication within the team of officials in general. Trust needs to be a person who keeps an eye on it and make sure that the communication within EXCO and between EXCO and other officials goes smooth. Another challenge that I identified is involvement and communication with IBSA MOs. So actually everything is about communication, but this definitely has to be improved. We started this process with regional regions and with establishing regional structure, and we would like to ensure that the communication will be improved and the regions will be developed. But I think we also have a lot of possibilities to improve our partner communication. IBSA could get more involved in, for example, policy making. This is also something that I would like to continue and working on.
Okay, thank you very much. So the second question is, what unique characteristic do you possess that you could bring to the board of trust?
I think the most important characteristic of mine is that I'm just a very approachable person, and I'm also very responsive. So I will definitely be there for EXCO and for the team of officials to keep an eye on everything that's going within the team and advise them anytime they need me. But also I have a big experience about many different aspects of IDSA because I was not only the MOD, but I was also part of the strategic planning committee. So I learned a lot about every aspect of IDSA to basically write a strategic plan to improve in the future. So my knowledge will also be very helpful on the position of trust.
Thank you very much, Anya. So now we will open the floor. Who has a question for Anya? Lisa?
Lisa Bura, Ibsa Netherlands. Hi, Anya. I just had a question. So in the past, it has been an issue that EXCO either couldn't get in touch with Trust or the other way around. How do you intend to ensure that EXCO will be able to, well, call out to you whenever necessary?
So I think first, the most important thing is that not EXCO should always come to us, but we should go to EXCO in the first place. I think the most important is to be present on EXCO meetings to know what's basically happening within a team. And also just talk to EXCO, send them messages, make sure that everything is going smoothly, because sometimes it's just you just realize that EXCO needs an advice from a casual conversation rather than waiting for them to approach you on their own. I think this is very important, but also the communication within the trust team itself is very important, not only between trust and EXCO. So I would also try to make sure this is running smoothly as well.
Thank you, Anya. Another question? Jacqueline?
Do you have any ideas on projects you'd like to do as trust?
Thank you, Jacqueline, for the question. Yeah, I have actually a couple of ideas. First of all, the OC manual. This is very important to support our organizing committees of Congress and Symposia. I was organizing committee for the Congress in Krakow myself. I know how struggle it was to organize this event, and I personally don't think OCs get enough support from officials at this moment, and I think writing the OC manual would be a very important thing. I would also like to, as I previously mentioned, make IBSA more involved in policy making, which would definitely improve our partner communication. And I would also like to support MOD in developing IBSA regions, since this is a project, very new project that I established, and I would like to make sure it will continue in a good way.
Thank you, Anna, very much. Now I would love to ask you to leave, and I will tell you on the WhatsApp group when you can come back.
Okay, thank you, Lucy.
Brandon, can you hear me? Brandon? Brandon, are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay. So the first question is, what challenge have you identified in IVSA in general based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an adversary role?
So I think one of the big challenges IVSA has faced and will continue to face, it has to do with communication. Even within the officials groups, there's always problems with communication, whether that be between Trust and EXCO, between the other members of EXCO or other members of Trust, to the different MOs, to the different regions. There's always been gaps in communication. Things have gotten lost, and certain ideas and plans never really came to be just because we have really horrible communication. Slowly, I think things are starting to happen to make that better, like the regional representative system, and a lot of the changes that are being proposed during this GA will help streamline communication. For me especially, the Latin American MOs and future more Latin American MOs are important, and that's one thing I would want to help guide while I'm on Trust, is helping more Mexicans and Colombians join, and a lot of the rest of South America and Central America.
Thank you very much, Brandon. The second question is, what unique characteristic do you possess that you could bring to the board of Trust?
I guess one characteristic that goes along with what I just said is I do speak Spanish, which is not common right now in the IVSA world, and that will help with communication between the Latin American countries. So I think that would be a pretty good one.
Thank you, Brandon. Now we'll open the floor. So who has a question for Brandon? Jacqueline?
Do you have any ideas on projects you'd like to do as Trust?
Yes. So one thing that I really want to focus on is getting in the same theme with all the communication stuff, is set up a actual system of how Trust works and what it does, and try to get some type of consistency going with Trust. I think in years past, and not excluding this year, Trust kind of there for a minute, and then they go away, and not a lot happens, and kind of from the beginning, starting out with some standards, expectations, and moving from there will be really helpful for everyone involved.
Thank you, Brandon. Another question? Lisa?
Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. How do you intend to make enough time to stay in touch with EXCO and all the work?
So this next year, as is stated in my nominee form, I'm starting a new job that will move me to Washington, D.C., especially for right now. D.C. is strictly work from home, so that will help me a lot. And even as the United States reopens and I do go to work, this first year, this job is going to be much more training focused, and it'll be a very self-driven. So using a lot of the skills I've taken from my past experience in IVSA, I can use time management, schedule out time to make sure we accomplish certain tasks. Like I said previously, a big part of this will be starting out strong and making sure that we, as a team, we work together and figure out what we actually want to accomplish for the year, and then keep up with each other throughout the rest of the term.
Thank you, Brenda, very much. Now I will have to ask you to leave. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the first question is, what challenges have you identified in IVSA in general based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an adversary role?
One of the biggest issues I have seen during my time in IVSA is miscommunication between team members. And this is especially important if we talk about communication between President and Secretary General. Depending on, as we already know, who's both President and Secretary General, I will make sure that those two communicate in a proper way. And if they work as a team, they can help everyone else work correctly as a team. So that is a sort of management challenge I've seen. The other challenge I've seen is with regards to the bylaws specifically, which me and a couple of the other nominees for trust have thought about or are going to look over during this term to make sure they're more streamlined and easier to understand for both members and partners alike.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So the second question is, what unique characteristic do you possess that you could bring to the board of the trust?
I'm usually very good at thinking of things from a different perspective. It's sometimes very hard to think of a problem from several unique ways, but I believe my previous experience as both an EXCO and also as the president of the Danish Veterinary Student Association, not IVSA, but the National Association in Denmark, has really helped me foresee some of the most common issues and help avoid them by making a preemptive decision.
Thank you, Daniel. Now we'll open the floor for the questions. Who has a question for Daniel? Jacqueline?
Do you have any ideas on project you'd like to do as trust?
As I sort of mentioned in the first question, my specific project is going to be an overhaul of at least part of the bylaws, and that is my main project. A smaller project I have thought about is, what's that called? It's helping Anya out with sort of some of the manuals, specifically the ones for Congress and Symposium, which will enable new MOs and people running for Congress and Symposium to start their planning with creating a minimum viable product. So what needs to be what you need to have to create a Congress, and then afterwards you can add on all the niceties that makes IVSA more fun. But start out with what you need, and then you continue from there. So 2 basic projects, bylaws, that's a big one. And second one is the manual enabling more to run for Congress and Symposium.
Thank you, Daniel. Lisa?
Hi, Daniel. Lisa Buren, Ibc Netherlands. I just want to ask, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you as a member of trust?
As alluded to in my nominee form. And as I'm sure almost everyone who runs for trust is going to say, it's very, very difficult to say no to both tasks and to let others take the decision for you. And I believe my biggest challenge will be the latter of the two, just stepping down when I've voiced my opinion and then letting someone else make the decision. But I do believe that since I'm aware of that issue and that trend in my personality, that I can overcome it relatively easily in this position. And with that, I believe that was my two questions, and there are other nominees coming up. So I'll get back to reading to my exam if it's okay with Luciano, and enjoy GA.
You're right, Daniel. Thank you very much, and good luck. Alvin, can you hear me?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Okay, Alvin, the first question is, what challenges have you identified in IVC in general based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an advisory role?
So first of all, I think the regions that were established in this term are a long-term project that is going to need guidance from someone that has worked with them in the past, and as one of the people that was involved in establishing the regions, I think I can assist the next EXCO with that. Also, I think that our IBSA bylaws can be rewritten in a way that's more concise. So I think that is an excellent task for the trust, as they have a lot of experience with the bylaws and they can rewrite them in a way that they see fit. And also, I think I can assist the executive committee and then in especially the president and the external relations officer with my experience with communicating with our partners and sponsors, because as we all know, these are multi-year agreements and multi-year partnerships that we need to grow and nourish, and having that experience, I think, can help the executive committee a lot.
Thank you, Elton. The second question is, what unique characteristic do you possess that you could bring to the board of trust?
I think my one of my best characteristics is that I'm, I think, very good at motivating other people to do work. I've seen that. I mean, I'm maybe bragging a bit right now, but in my own executive committee, I feel like I've been able to motivate people to do their tasks. And I think as trustee, it's very important to not only give advice, but also be supportive of the executive committee and advise them where necessary, of course. And I want to take an active role in supporting and advising the executive committee as the team of trust, because I also think it's very important to work in trust as a team, and I think I can also motivate the other members of trust to be active in assisting and helping the EXO.
Thank you, Elton, very much. Now we'll open the floor for questions. Lisa?
Hello, Lisa Bura, Ibc Netherlands. Hi, Owen. I just want to ask, from your past experience this year with working in trust, what lesson would you say you've learned from collaborating with trust?
All right. So yeah, indeed, as president this year, I was the main communication link between the executive committee and the trust. And what I've learned is that, in my opinion, it works best if trust also takes an active role in communicating with the executive committee. And I think that is something I really want to work on, to have trust have their own goals, communicate these with the EXCO so that they can get EXCO's approval on it. Because, of course, the most important task of the trust as a team is to support the EXCO in their tasks.
Thank you, Alvin. Jacqueline?
Work as trust.
Jacqueline, can you repeat that?
I could hear her. So she asked if there were any specific projects I wanted to work on in the coming term. Yeah, so as I already said, I think the regional teams, I helped in drafting the region strategic plan together with the current MOD, and that is something that we really want to work on the coming term to expand from the regional representative this year to actual regional teams, that, for example, also work with the committees, but also work with the regional partners. And that is something I've been very involved in this year with the European regional representative, that we've been working with the European organization and strengthening our relations. And I think as Trust, I want to advise and help the regional teams establish these partnerships with the other big regional veterinary organizations, because I think they can give us a lot of opportunities. Other than that, as I already said, the Ibsa bylaws are also one thing that I think can be a nice project for the Trust, and also the Ibsa history project, which is something I've been working on the past year as well, and I've already talked to some people about continuing that for the next year.
Thank you so much. Now I have to ask you to leave. Sorry, Joe, for that.
No problem.
So, Joe, the first question is, what challenges have you identified in IBSA in general, based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an adversary role?
So I've been incredibly lucky to be involved in IBSA for over 9 years now. So I started on the UK and Ireland Committee, was Secretary to DAD in 2012-2013, DAD in 13-14, and Trust once post that. Through that time, I've come across a couple of minor issues. For me, it's the loss of sponsorship, which when I began at IBSA, we had €30,000 coming into the current fund, which aided the work of IBSA, and our presidents could go to a lot more events than they can do now due to the limiting funding. We also had a €25,000 bonus for the first €25,000 we raised for the development fund, which meant that in my term we earned like €45,000. So I think the important thing there is I've now been in practice for over 4 years now, and I've got several contacts in the industry which I can utilize to gain us more sponsorship to enable the rest of the IVSA grouping to function fully and allow our president to be present at a lot of events. Sorry, that was a lot longer than you probably wanted it to be.
It's fine. Thank you, Joe. The second question is, what unique characteristic do you possess that you can bring to the board of trust?
I think it's inclusivity, because I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures and working styles through my work in IVSA previously. So from people that are incredibly organized to the nth degree and will text you back in 5 minutes, to those that you have to chase down with a pitchfork to find them, and learning to deal with those idiosyncrasies of different people is very important. So I think bringing in inclusivity and also a vast amount of experience with previous nominees, that EXCO members that are now members of WSAVA, FAO, WHO, and all of these organizations that IVSA is trying to work with, I can approach them from an internal perspective.
Thank you, Joe. Now we'll open the floor for questions. So who has questions for Joe? Jacqueline?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Since you have been absent from IBC Global for a few years, how do you think you can aid the new EXCO when you might not be up to date with all the current events?
So I've actually been present in many of the recent events and read the minutes to an extensive amount. I've also been working in collaboration as a non-official member of trust with several of the trustee members. So I'm aware of the current goings on within IVSA and any changes to the bylaws, etc., as shown in my contribution to the debate regarding some of the amendments. I know that it's not been easy recently, but with current working and commitments until this year when I've taken a step back and gone part-time, it's not necessarily been easy for me to go to the event, but I have read all of the minutes I've published as they come along and been involved in an informal regard with several of the members, including assisting Laura Scowen this year in her book drive and driving the BSAVA manuals down to London. So I have been staying on an informal level because I didn't have sufficient time to provide true trust support, which I think with my current working habits, I can do this year. I don't want to commit to trust unless I have got the sufficient time, which I believe I do now have, and have taken that decision completely.
Thank you, Joe. Second question. Lisa?
Hi, Lisa Bira, IVSA Netherlands. Hi, Joe. I just want to ask a question regarding your report card for the WGA that's on the drive. Having a good communication with EXCO is important, and since that was listed on your report card as something that wasn't optimal during your term, how do you intend to improve that for your term as trust?
So that year, as informed on a confidential basis, I was involved in a legal welfare case, and this had eaten up a lot of my time, which was a legal obligation, so I couldn't be involved. There was also limited communication from the other side, which makes it difficult to communicate. And it's a very one-sided report. There is no report from my side at all. So it's very difficult for me to go along that side that I was under legal obligation to fulfill my veterinary duties. This year, unless a disaster does happen, that won't happen because I've got to look after my profession first. And sadly, IVSA, when it's a legal obligation, had to come second in the last 3 months of my term, which is what they're being referred to. The first 9 months, we had about 6 meetings, one every 2 months at the minimum, and 2 to set up the committee. The last 3 or 4 months, I was involved in a legal case and couldn't communicate effectively. But this is the tendency with those kind of reports. That very short space of time when I was uncommunicative sticks in people's minds.
Thank you, Joe. Now I have to ask you to leave.
No problem. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.
Hi, sorry for being late.
Don't worry. Nacho, I'll ask you now the first question. So the first question is, what challenges have you identified in IDSA in general based on your past involvement, and how do you plan to address these issues from an adversary role?
Well, so what I learned from my past experiences as an IVSA official, there were some issues that can be emotional, or sometimes that can be solved within the time-wise. So I thought there should be someone who can be in a neutral part, so that who can see the point in a fair view. And I think I was the one who can like step back on a controversial issue and see the whole thing as a whole. So that helped me to help solve the problem with others altogether. Yeah, so most of all, I think there should be someone who can see the issue from the distance without any bias.
Okay, thank you, Nacho, very much. The second question is, what unique characteristics do you possess that you could bring to the Board of Trust?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Getting lost? Lucy?
Yes, Nacho, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, do you hear me? Nacho?
Oh, so I ended up my speech. Did you hear that? Did you hear my answer beforehand? Hello? Are you listening?
Can you hear me, Nacho?
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Have you heard the last question?
Yeah. No, I didn't hear the last question.
Okay, I will repeat the last question. What unique characteristic do you possess that you could bring to the Board of Trust?
Okay, that's an easy one. So I can say that I'm a little bit familiar with the technical issues than others in veterinary schools, so that I could have been to be taking role in as a TRC like 2 years ago, making website and managing the email server, etc. So if I would become the next trustee, I am sure I'll be able to help the next PRC and the whole IVSA official team as well, because we're in a specific condition, which is in a COVID-19 pandemic, which requires us a lot of technical connections like this, internet connections. So I'm pretty sure I'll be helpful in the next term as an technical staff, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we'll open the floor to the GA who has a question. Lisa?
Lisa Buren, Ibc Netherlands. Hi, Nacho. I just want to ask, what do you think is the biggest challenge if you become trust?
All right. My biggest challenge would be the time difference, I guess, but that's also what I experienced before when I was doing an exco. So it's quite hard to follow up others when my time is like overnight, but it can be overcome because pretty sure I can just stand up one night for the meetings. So yeah, this time I saw not many candidates are from Asian countries, so I might be only one who's in the Asian time zone. So that might be the biggest trouble, but eventually I'm quite sure I'll be able to like deal with it.
Thank you very much. We can take another question. Lisa?
Yes. One more question. So since you have been, well, out of Exco for a while now, how do you think your experience you've had ever since will contribute to you being in trust?
Okay. So I think from this time of moment, the most important issue is that we are in a totally different condition in contrast to like a few months before because of the pandemic situation, which means that it is really different from what we are doing from past times and what we are going to do from now on. So even though I had a gap year as an IVSA exco, I'm pretty sure we'll face the same challenge that nobody had experienced before. So I think my gap year wouldn't that matter in the matters of how to like overcome this biggest challenge of the world.
Thank you very much. I'll have to ask you to leave now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, everyone. We have some problem reaching to Vichy, so we'll take one moment. Okay, so we cannot reach the last nominee for trustee. So we'll go with the symposium. We will start with Colombia. So we'll have the reps from Mexico to leave the meeting, please. Lina, you will be the one who speaks on behalf of Colombia?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so the first question is, leading a large team can be challenging. How will you deal with disagreements amongst your OC?
Okay, well, yes, as I told you, as you told, it's a little bit complicated leading with a big team. But in this moment, we are trying to work helping each other. All the people in my country have all the skills to work in it. And in this moment, my team is very excited to do this event in here. So I understand that it's a big challenge, but we are working in it, and we are a lot of leaders in my country working in this team. So I think it's not a big deal working as a team.
Thank you very much. The second question is, Running an event requires a good communication stream between the OC and the EXCO. What are your plans to make this as effective as possible?
Okay. Well, in this moment, we have had a lot of support from the EXCO, especially some people who speak Spanish to work with us. I think that in the team, there are some leaders that are able to talk with the EXCO when it is necessary. And also, we have the tools to communicate with them. So I understand that it's also a challenge, the times and that stuff, but we are trying to communicate with them via email, via WhatsApp. Even some people that don't speak good English have been in contact with Brendan, with Ellen, and some other guys that have been help us with that.
Thank you, Nina. Now we'll open the floor for the GA for questions. Lisa?
Yes, hello, Lisa Bura, IDSA Netherlands. Hi, Lena. I just wanted to ask, what other experience does your chapter have in organizing large-scale international events?
Well, to be honest, we have not organized international events in my country, but we are working in some national events in here. We did the first Students' Congress in my country, and we also have working in other events with a large association of veterinarians in my country. So, I think it's, we don't have the experience that maybe other countries have, but all the events that we did was good. And I think if we want to do it, we can take the challenge and have a good event for all of you.
Thank you very much. Now for the second question. Brandon?
Hi, Lena. Okay, so my question is, how many people or what kinds of different companies and organizations have you already talked to, and do you plan on talking to for sponsorship money, for accommodation, for all of that type of stuff? Do y'all have kind of a plan set up in place for this? And if so, could you tell us a little bit about that plan?
Yes, we have talked with some companies, especially with our sponsors in here. Purina Colombia is the biggest sponsor that we have in here. We have the support of them, and also we have the support of other veterinarian associations in here. We have a very long list to send emails and ask for money and get more sponsors. But at this moment, we have two, Purina and the Association of Small Animals in the country. But we have in plans to get more as well. We need to work in that.
Thank you, Lena, very much. I will have to ask you to leave now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. So the first question. Leading a large team can be challenging. How will you deal with disagreements amongst your OC?
Sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
So the whole thing is leading a large team can be challenging. How will you deal with disagreements amongst your OC?
How will I deal with my OC team? That's what you mean?
Like disagreements when you're not on the same page.
Oh, okay. I got it. All right. How would I deal with that? Um, Fortunately, we are a very good team, and we've been working very good until nowadays. And yes, we have never had any discussions about any project. We fortunately have had the yes the opportunity or the ability to stay in peace and work very good all of us together. So, but I know that doesn't mean it will be that way always. So, um, during my all IBSA path, I gained many soft skills and how to communicate good with people, especially with my team. I've learned how to lead a team, and I feel I feel myself very capable and very ready to yes to any challenge upcoming, and I'm very sure that I am very backed up with my OC team, and yes, that's it.
Thank you very much, Javi. The second question. Running an event requires a good communication stream between the OC and the EXCO. What are your plans to make this as effective as possible?
Yes, of course, attending all the meetings requested, and if there are more meetings needed, of course, we are willing to do them. So, until here we have attended on time and on the date established all the meetings with the MOD, and we have been ready always. We haven't failed, never.
Okay, Javi, thank you. Now we will open the floor to the GA for the questions.
Okay.
Brandon?
Hola, Javi. Okay, so to plan an event like Symposium, you're going to need sponsorships, partners, the accommodation, all of that. Can you tell us a little bit about who y'all are interested in, what your plans are as far as talking to some of those companies, organizations, and things, and what you've already done and how you want to go about it as you plan Symposium?
Yes, of course. Well, I'll start with the accommodation. Regarding the accommodation, we have um, gotten some agreements with the hotels that we have talked with, and yes, they have offered us some extra services. One of them is and in my opinion, it's a very good point. Is we talked with them about the dinners, and they offered us an agreement with three Mexican restaurants very near from the hotel, where delegates will be able to go and try Mexican food for dinner during all the whole event. So all the delegates will be able to choose any of the three Mexican restaurants to try different dishes each day, and it will be free. And in the other hand, we um we are we have also had talks already with some companies here, and one of them is Norbit, and the other one is Soetis. Both of them are Mexican laboratories, and yes, we talked with them, and they told us to send them like a list of things that we need or we will be need for the event, and they told us that they will be happy to help us. But the only thing they told us was they really prefer if I mean, if the event is already 100% confirmed, in order to start talking about agreements. And of course, we are like we firmly believe in, and it would be easy for us to get sponsors, because IBSA is something very new in Mexico, and this type of event will surely, attract the attention of companies and institutions, and of course it would make our attendance fee lower, the amount.
Thank you, Javi. We have another question. Lisa?
Hi, it's Lisa Buren from Ibc Netherlands. I just had a question. I saw in your presentation you had quite some optional tours that people had to pay an additional fee for. How are you going to make sure that in total that's not going to make the event too expensive for delegates, as there might be delegates who might not be able to spend that much?
Of course, that activity is the trip to the Tequila magical town where tequila was born, and this activity would have an extra cost, but it would be a very accessible cost. I can say to all of you guys in the GA that it will not pass the 50 euros. We are working to make it cheaper, but it won't pass it. But of course, for all of those people who prefer not to attend, there will be more than 3 optional activities that will be completely free and very fun as well.
Thank you, Javi, very much. We are trying still to reach Tavishi to ask her the questions for the trust position, but unfortunately she cannot be reached. So that was the nominee hour for the trust, secretariat, and symposium. The rest of the discussion will be on Sunday. So that's it. Thank you all for your attention and for all the nominees that were here. Have a great day.